And everybody, you hanging in? I'm Jeff, that's Tom. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. And for those of you driving about, listening on 93.3 FM Real Talk Radio, appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, Warchant TV, and you're in the Heisem Legal Law Firm chat, as always, thank you. And a reminder that chat is indeed sponsored by Heisem Legal Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. So if you've been in an accident, call Heisem Legal Law Firm, 813-803-0733. That's free consultation, no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisem Legal Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733, or you can visit HeisemLegalLawFirm.com. Heisem Legal Law Firm, your advocate in times of need. Offices, Tampa. Tom, good day to you, sir. Welcome on in, buddy. Let's talk about two games from Florida State. We got games tonight to watch, or today and tonight to watch. And then, of course, Florida State plays tomorrow. And then we also had the U.S. Open, amongst other things that we have to touch on with recruiting as well. Busy weekend. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. I think if this show occurred on Saturday, then it might have a bit of a different tenor. But we've had some time, had some chances to process some things. And then obviously we got to see a good performance yesterday out of the baseball team out there in Omaha. But it's funny. I was talking with Ira just a little bit, and we were recapping some stuff for the Smash. And to relive it on Friday still hurts, and it's going to hurt for a long, long time. But it's nice that we're convening after seeing a response and after seeing an outing from Carson Dorsey that was just nails. When we had to have it, he delivered. So there is a tinge of sweetness to go with the bitter on a Monday.
Carson Dorsey been the best pitcher for Florida State in the postseason. It's not close. He has been dominant. He has been awesome. He has led the way. It's exciting to see a guy like that emerge in those situations time and again. He did it against another really good lineup. So good for Carson Dorsey, good for Florida State to respond. You cannot think of a more devastating way to lose a game against a number one seed in which you had your ace on the hill. You pound out 11 runs. You're up 9-4 in the middle innings. Really, everything that we know that transpired. I went back just to double check the moments and make sure that I had all my facts straight, and to make sure that I wasn't overcome by or swept up with emotion as we did the watch along. And just wanted to make sure and confirm that what I thought happened, what I saw that bothered me, some things that are just baseball being baseball, all that sort of thing, that all those things and all those particulars were true, and they were. And what's frustrating is, Tom, and I hate to do this, this is going to sound self-serving. I don't mean it to be. I mean it to be somewhat illuminating here. Every single concern that I addressed about the team on Friday going in, every single thing that I thought was a reason to be concerned or something that could come back at the very least to haunt us, held true. I questioned our outfield defense repeatedly in the week leading up to this game. Our outfield defense wasn't good. Even when we had a defensive replacement out there, they struggled to make plays. Not all of them were routine plays, but they're plays that just have to be made, especially if you're a defensive replacement. I spoke about how we were weak at catcher, weak defensively at catcher. That turned out to be true in more ways than one, including a beautiful relay from the outfield where you have an out and the catcher drops the ball. I don't care that it's a knee. You have to hold it with two hands. That cannot happen. It does happen. You lose by a run. That costs you a run. You have a base running mistake. You throw a ball away. Defensively, I was a little worried about him, and that came back to pass. We worried also when you go back and we talk about all the things that, I was – well, how about this? I thought the guy that had real power that would translate to Omaha is Jaime Ferrer. Said it on the air, first guessed it. It's real. That power is going to translate to the league. He can hit at any ballpark. I worried that some other guys would have a harder time with that. We hit the ball just fine, but there's some things that you cannot do in close games against great teams and expect to win. Fortunately, Tennessee made a ton of mistakes as well. We kind of earned our way in some areas. I wondered aloud, too, Tom, last week when we talked, and this turned out to be prescient as well. I thought it was a little overrated that Florida State hadn't been out there and Tennessee's been out there 3 of the last 4 years. That, the truth of the matter was that I thought both teams would be nervous. Turns out I'm right about that. Both teams looked really nervous in the first 3 innings of this game. The stage is huge, and it's hard to know how people are going to react. And it is interesting that even though you have one team who had a ton of experience and another who did not, I thought the number 1 ranked team and the one with the experience looked a little bit more nervous than Florida State did for much of that game. In the end, you should have won the baseball game. Yes, I thought he went around. It is frustrating. I will also admit that I'm not surprised that the third base umpire did not ring him up. Truth be told, I think it's a hard call to make. A, so does Link. He said as much. B, I think it's a really hard call to make if it's for the third out in game 1 of a contest that has been as hard fought as that. You don't see too many third base umpires in the pros or college like to end the game on that call. They don't like to do it. They just don't. And we get into the age-old arguments about if you broke the plane or not. In the 6th inning, would you have called it? Well, if you would have, then you have to call it in the 9th inning. But we know that's just not the way the games are umpired. So it's frustrating. We also worried about the arms out of the bullpen and whether or not Florida State would have enough if Jamie Arnold wasn't able to give you 6. I worried that he would not be able to give you 6. These are high-pressure pitches. We talked about this on Friday. The anxiety level is intense. You've seen, as you well know, Tom, a shrinking of the strike zone in college baseball. So you're not going to get as many borderline calls as you do in most years, and certainly not this year. And then I think, again, going against that lineup, the tax that it takes on you to have to execute to the finest degree, pitch to pitch, knowing that the consequences of missing your spot by an inch or a quarter of an inch could be a home run, could be a guy hitting for a cycle, could be any number of things. So seemed to came to fruition. Now, I do want to say before we circle back on that and have an engaged discussion about it, that I was really proud of what I saw yesterday. I think as devastating as that loss was for Florida State and the many things that you could really get angry about, again, not playing balls in the outfield well, a base running mistake, Arnold didn't help himself throwing a ball away, the catching mistake, the called third strike that would have won you the game. You can dwell on any facet you want, and it leads to frustration. You also made a ton of mistakes. And they're the kinds of mistakes that tend to linger in your mind overnight. They're the kinds of things that are not as easily to put behind you and soldier on. They're the kinds of mistakes that cause you as a player, especially one who may have made one of those mistakes, to think about it over and ruminate over and over again in your mind what could have been. An inch here, a foot there, a throw there, a catch there, all of those things. When you had the chance, because you're every bit as good as the number 1 ranked team in the land, and Florida State proved they're every bit as good as Tennessee. And they're certainly, at this point, looking like the best offensive team in the College World Series. They've proven that as well to some degree. So you know that they can't help but probably think to themselves, damn it, man, we should be 1-0 with a chance to go 2-0 and a chance to be in the driver's seat to win a national championship. And so I worried when they took the field, would that be a hangover? And Dorsey gave them everything you needed, was sharp from pitch 1, never looked nervous, seemed to have complete control of the game, is clearly trusted by Micah and this staff to go deep, deep, deep into games. They are now routinely asking him to throw 110, 115, 120 pitches. They just believe that he's the answer. They clearly do not believe they have arms in that bullpen other than Ox that they can trust, and that's where this team sits. It's a snapshot of some things we already knew, which is that Florida State offensively is a juggernaut. up and down that lineup, they are a bear to deal with. And the best teams in the country have a hard time stopping this offense from tattooing their pitching. Tennessee ran out a bunch of guys, Tom. I went and looked it up afterwards the next morning when I was frustratingly going through everything that happened. All of those kids that they threw at Florida State in the first game were kids that had meaningful innings in the biggest games of the year against top 10 teams in the SEC and who had success. And yet Florida State did a number on them. So again, we see this offense is no joke. We knew that going in. We knew that this Florida State pitching staff had been diminished both by quality and also, or a lack thereof, but also by injury. And we saw that too, because they ran out their arms out there. They ran out the guys they trusted in game one. It didn't happen, but there they get the Herculean performance from Carson Dorsey. And now they're in a position to make this kind of interesting because you get that extra day's rest now that, ordinarily in a series, you'd be playing back to back to back. And you've got this extra day. So we'll see how they go about it. They could make it enticing. I don't think they have the depth of pitching to get through this, to navigate this, to come all the way back and play for a championship. But I'm glad they weren't the first team to take it on down the road. I'm glad they won a game out there. I'm glad they showed they could play with anybody in the country. I'm glad that the nation got to see that under Link Jarrett, this is a group that is going to be, I think, consistently a tough team to beat, that will show up, that will be locked in, that will rebound when things go wrong, that will play you physically and mentally tough year in and year out. I think that's where we're at. I think we learned a lot of what we already knew with one really frustrating ending.
Yeah, I think the mantra from here on out is don't let us get to Thursday. Don't let us get to Thursday, which is where it's a true elimination game for both sides, and Florida State has pushed their half of the bracket to the brink. You got to do a lot between now and then to even get to Thursday, obviously. Sure. Tomorrow, you've got to survive. I think, again, it's an oversimplification to say you need to outscore your opponent. Of course you do. That's the object of the game. But I think you got to go up again. The Bats have to give you a lot of runs tomorrow again, because this would be the Tuesday game is the one where you don't have many solutions, the guys that you are confident in. So this is like a midweek slugfest that you're going to need to go through tomorrow. But if you can get through that, somebody who can give you some serious length will be available on Wednesday. If not multiple guys who can give you length will be available on Wednesday. So if you can get from tomorrow afternoon to Wednesday afternoon, don't let us play Tennessee with all the pressure on Tennessee in that situation and us coming back from the depths of going barbecuing to play for a chance to get to the best of three. Again, a lot has to go right for Florida State, but the way these bats are swinging and the way they responded yesterday and the way this team has shown mental toughness, do they show moments where they're nervous? Absolutely. Quite a few in the last couple of weeks. Do they show moments where they don't play as clean a defense as you want? Absolutely. Quite a few in the last few weeks. Did they squander about 7 amazing opportunities on Friday to either put the game away with their pitching staff or with a key at bat? Yeah, they did. But don't let us get to Thursday, because if we get to Thursday, that team will be full of belief, full of the bravado that it has, and you will have an opponent in Tennessee back on its heels. I just hope we get there, because I'd love to see that game, and I'd love to go on the ride between now and then.
I would too. I don't think it'll happen. I'm not predicting it'll happen. I think they'll lose before that happens. They're 6-1 in the postseason, if that's right. They won the first 2, and then they won 3 straight, and then they lost the game to Tennessee, and then they beat Virginia. So I think they're 6-1 overall in the postseason. They nut cutting time. They've been good. They lost the game to the number 1 team in the country, made too many mistakes, really caused a whole lot of consternation for Tennessee. I think Tennessee's being honest. They would tell you that they know they didn't deserve to win that game, but you can't keep giving teams opportunities, especially ones with as deep a lineup as that. Those kids, when given that life, took advantage of it. It's a really loaded lineup. I mentioned before the series, we already knew it. Their coach is insufferable. He was again. But I think that at the end of the day, it serves as a reminder. We keep going back to this, or I want to keep going back to this because I think it's important. Florida State was obsolete in the world of college baseball last year. It was a program in disarray. We had reached a crescendo of suck in which you didn't make the postseason tournament. It was as tough a season as any Florida State fan who's been going to games for 30-plus years could ever remember taking in. And here it is a year later. They're still around in the College World Series. They lost in heartbreaking fashion to the number one team in the country after having scored 11 runs and not winning the game, and then just dominated Virginia yesterday, dominated in every facet of the game. Florida State was much better. So I just cannot be disappointed. I could be disappointed in a result where you had a chance. I can be aggravated, but the warts that remained from the team that, again, you had to transition out of, and you did a great job of filling holes and improving lineup and making sure that you gave yourself a chance to win series, to compete at a high level, to get ranked, to be in a position to go back to Omaha. You did those things. You're rewarded for that. You're celebrated for it, but it doesn't erase some of those problems that we knew were still in play. And I think that will be the goal when they do lose, is you learn from this. And then I think, Link, there's not a lot of, this isn't a case where you've got to read between the lines. Sometimes when you have a problem at work or in your personal life, there's something at play that's not obvious. There's something that's not standing out, and neither one of you or your coworkers can put their finger on it. And you're just beating your head against the wall at night, kind of laying in bed going, what can I do to make this aspect better? What did I not do in this arena where we could have been improved here? What is it we're missing within this core group? Like, a lot of times, those are really tough questions that require amazing nuance and maybe 4 or 5 sets of eyes and brains to come together. Nah, not this one. You don't have enough arms. When you watch North Carolina and others roll out 5, 6, 7 guys that they trust to pitch in big moments, I mean, then the answer is obvious. You're just still playing catch up from a pitching standpoint. Certainly didn't help you any that you got screwed in that you lost one of the more competitive arms in the rotation that would have, I think, not only deepened, but changed the way you approach certain pitching decisions in the postseason. But you don't have that luxury. You did lose those guys, and you did lose a lighter, and you don't have that many people that you can trust. But it would have lengthened that group that you had. So he knows what he's got to do. It'll be, he'll go to war for that. He's talked openly about the fact that they're going to have to do a lot more from a standpoint of NIL and et cetera, facilities. But one step at a time, and they've taken a giant step forward. There's a good baseball team that's still competing out there. I wouldn't put it past them to maybe give themselves an opportunity to extend this a little bit further. But I just don't think they have the arms to get to a Thursday. I hope you're right, Tom. I hope we see it. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Sellers, are you stuck between wanting to sell your home and waiting for rates to fall? Are you worried about the contingency of having to sell your home? What if you didn't have to? With a 2-1 rate buy down, you can lock in a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of your mortgage and get the home you want now, all while having a higher chance to buy that next home with the contingency of selling yours. If you wait for rates to fall, you risk more competition, sellers less likely to wait, and paying more for that next property. If you're stuck, we need to talk. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That's 954-369-6171. And don't forget, for every loan we close for our fellow Noles, I will personally donate $250 to the Battle's End.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 373031. You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricine, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com.
Yeah, it was good to see that team bounce back and dominate. By the way, ESPN, you nailed it, Tom, when I texted you after the Ferrer guns blazing. I don't know how in the world they're not on a delay or at least have a producer in the truck going, fellas, emotional moment. Probably don't want the mic right there in the dugout to hear every word and every exaltation after yet another home run. But boy, we got it all. It was just like the old days where Tiger Woods was on the box and they had those mics primed and ready to go for that pull hook and the inevitable MF or GD that they were going to get. And then they would stutter the F their way through their, oh, sorry about that, folks. You knew it was coming. What are you doing? That was hilarious. I paused it for my kids and brought them in so they could hear it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so the only explanations for that are they're not on delay, which I don't believe, that they're understaffed, which I could believe.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Or they just choose to let it go, which is also somewhat plausible. Maybe like, woo, got a little salty there. We'll let it get to a line, but he certainly crossed over the line of what I would allow if I was in the truck, if I was saying, guys, it's 3:00 Eastern on the East Coast. A lot of kids watching. Let's tamp it down. We can get the echoes of what's happening in the dugout rather than the raw feed up in his mouth as he's saying some choice words.
It was great. I still laugh about it. I mean, it was clear as day. Every now and then when you're watching an NFL game and their effort to bring the authenticity home, they'll access that field mic. And the stuff you hear between plays of an NFL football game, well, it's the stuff of legend, as we well know, not your normal work environs. And so you'll hear some things when men are bludgeoning other men and those men are fighting back from said bludgeoning. They tend to have choice words for one another. And it's usually a little dicey for public consumption, but I love when they do it. Like, oh, well, here we are. I remember early on telling my wife, like, if you heard the things that men say to each other in a locker room, and I'm not talking about, over the top sexual escapades or things that they're bragging about. I'm talking about just a common conversation between dudes. You'd be like, what is wrong with these guys? Why are they? If you heard Tom and I on the golf course, you might think, what in the world? I mean, it's just, this is the way dudes are.
Yeah, that poor old lady on the North course, she heard me. And what's so funny is I can throw down and say some things, but I don't usually,
Right. Well, we don't carry on, right?
Like if we had a jar that we put a penny in, you'd put more pennies in than me in those situations. But that day I was feeling it, and I was describing things, and I was telling you words, and I wasn't holding back in terms of language. And there that lady was, just watering her lawn with a hose, turning around like this, like, oh, okay. Didn't expect you to be there, ma'am, at 11:30 on a work day, but there you are.
There you are, watering said lawn, and you heard every bit of that conversation, which was followed quickly by me chuckling and then going, "Good shot, Tom." And then we just kept going. Like, that's all you could do.
That's the beauty of having a cart versus walking. You don't have to live in that moment nearly as long. You just hop in the cart and go.
Our friends at Tried and True are prepared to help you start saving and making money. You need to know this. The summer's here. They got you covered. You get to choose between one of three offers, $1,000 off a point-of-sale system. Perhaps no gateway charges is your choice for 1 year, or a free video menu or ad board when you become a Tried and True client. Offers being extended from now through July 31st. Still got time, but let's get on it. If you've been thinking about making that change, do it. They're saving you money. They're making you money. Get in on the savings, and don't forget 10% of the net revenue will go to the Battle's End. Call Don or Joe, or you can scan that QR code you see on the screen if you're watching on Warchant TV. That number, 844-463-6653. 844 I'm for Noel. If you're driving about and you need something to remember, for all the details, tell them you want the Jeff Cameron Show special. Yeah, I don't think that we'll get to that magical moment where we're all on the edge of our seats again with an opportunity to rematch and put ourselves in a position. But I think we can make it interesting, and I am interested to see strategically how they go about this. I am, you don't know. I mean, baseball's a weird game. I will concede the reason I tell you they don't have zero chance to do it is because baseball's funny, and there are plenty of examples throughout the history of the game in Major League Baseball, college baseball, you name it, where somebody steps up and achieves above and beyond what you thought was possible based on the evidence before you in the course of a season. Like, what if Abraham all of a sudden gives you 5 2/3 of shutout baseball? You'd be like, well, really had no reason to see that coming, but I suppose he could.
Well, exactly. I think the spot tomorrow is one where you've got nothing to lose if you're one of those kids. It's the same reason, it's the other side of the coin, that you wouldn't turn to Abraham in the 9th and pull Oxford after he issues a walk early in that inning. Like, you don't want to put a kid in a situation where they feel the heat of that moment. Tomorrow against North Carolina is nothing like, while the temperature may be higher, the heat of that moment is nothing like what Oxford went through on Friday against Tennessee. So it wouldn't stun me, because even though it's Omaha, that's a much easier spot. Your back's against the wall. What else are you going to do? It's right. Different than sleeping on something like Game 3 of the final series Monday night, and you would have to turn to Abraham then. Ooh, I'd be very worried in that situation. But with these bats, I'm not saying it's impossible. We've had teams out there in the last 15 years that in this situation you knew it was 99.999% impossible that they could not climb the ladder. This one might, because if you get the job done tomorrow, if you want Jamie Arnold available at all in the best of 3, in the pie in the sky scenario, you better throw Wednesday or not throw at all. Like a bullpen, even if it's a bullpen, quote unquote, that just happens to be in a game where he gives you 30 or 40 pitches.
Right.
It has to be Wednesday that he would throw if he's going to be available down the line again.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that desperate times, desperate measures, all those things are true. But also, we've watched the way that college coaches, once you get to the College World Series, change up routines and game plans all the time. It won't be unique to Link and Micah in this Florida State team. I know you're suggesting that they'll have to do that. I agree with you. I watch teams. I mean, how many times have we watch teams that get deep in this thing? Perhaps they do overcome and win a game that they didn't think they'd win, and now they are completely depleted from pitching, and then you'll just see the strangest thing in the world, like yesterday's starter come in and pitch the eighth. We've seen things like that happen where you're trying to win a championship. These kids want to win at all costs. They get it, man. They're competing. They're going to do anything they can. If you say to them, hey, man, I know you threw 100 pitches yesterday. Well, hell, for example, Randy Johnson did it for the D-backs when they won the World Series. So it happens. Like, you get a guy who starts the day before, you're like, I'm going to need you in the ninth. Okay, let's go. Let's get it done. I mean, we got a chance to win a championship. Sure.
Yeah, and again, it's just, I know that this is the very infinitesimally small scenario here where Jamie's going to pitch twice more in Omaha, 2 more times.
Yeah.
But your choices to have that happen are narrowed to one way, which is he pitches Wednesday and then he would pitch somewhere in that final 3-game series. Because if you weren't going to do that, then you go all in on Thursday. Let's get to Thursday. He has a full outing and you never see him again. These are the only 2 realistic options that you have. But if you could just play the 9 innings now and just say, I guarantee you Florida State beats North Carolina, at that point it does get interesting, because I see the run totals that Evansville put up against Tennessee consistently in their super regional, and I say, what the hell? We could put up 7-8 runs a game against Tennessee in back-to-back games. I don't know if it'll be enough, because 11 sure as hell wasn't enough on Friday, but hey, man, crazier things have happened, and this lineup is good enough to do that.
The lineup is spectacular, and it is hard to imagine they were able to piece this together so quickly. I think the core of it is that you got your best hitters to come back, obviously. Cam coming back and Tibbs coming back, guys like that coming back changed what was possible. But correctly identifying and placing around those big bats the guys that they have, and to watch those guys excel in the way that they have, many of whom you're going to have an opportunity next year to see continue to grow, is really exciting. If it's possible, I'll reiterate this. I think watching this program operate and seeing where they are in comparison to the best teams in the country and where this offense is and the way they comport themselves in terms of, I'm talking about being mentally tough, is a really good indicator that they're going to be in really good shape for the foreseeable future. I really feel strongly that Florida State's in a great place right now. And, whether they win the next game, lose the next game, whatever it might be, that is just not going to change for me. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Thomasville police announced Friday morning that they were searching for 2 individuals who are wanted for terroristic threats and harassment. They are searching for Joseph Elkins and Michaela Sharp. They were both contacted by law enforcement and told to turn themselves in, but they have failed to cooperate. The 2 are believed to be in Florida and have at least 1 firearm. Police said they could be traveling in a black Dodge Ram truck. The National Weather Service will soon be halting their daily weather balloon launches. Due to a global supply chain disruption of helium, the twice daily launches will be indefinitely suspended on July 1st. The NWS launches the balloons at 100 local offices across the nation and in the Caribbean. There's a plan in the works to convert some locations over to hydrogen gas, but no timetable has been announced for the conversion. On days when severe weather is expected or before a tropical system makes landfall, specific NWS offices will be instructed to launch an extra balloon to help fine-tune the forecast. This is Rachel Anay with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Daytime highs approaching 94. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. 73 tonight. Slight chance for showers. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 93. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 86 degrees.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASE trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti. Right,
yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape, and I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Jeff Cameron Show rolling on. Good Monday to you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you very much. How many days, Tom? I haven't checked. We've been sidetracked, thankfully, with the U.S. Open, college baseball going on. To some degree, a pretty boring championship series between the NBA finalist and NHL finalist, but nonetheless, distractors, Major League Baseball to boot. I know your Mets won 3 straight over the weekend, I think it was, buddy. That's good for you. We took 2 of 3 in Colorado, so it was a successful weekend for both our clubs.
It was indeed. Since we had Grimace throw out the first pitch, the McDonald's character, the Mets are undefeated. We've won, I think, 9 of 10? 10 of 12, something like that. So good times are abound there. But I heard where you were going. I know Troy usually does a great job in the comments before we start on Warchant TV. He usually has the counter, and I'm scrolling up because there's so many comments today. Nope, didn't have the listing. Upper 60s, lower 70s, where are we at?
Well, it's 67 days, 23 hours, so it's really like 68 days. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Very nice. Well, on Ireland time, it speeds up all the faster as well. We did get a little bit of a back and forth with the delegation today with some good news.
We did. And we will be in a classic Irish pub in the heart of it all, city center. Maybe we'll run into Herb Street and have a conversation, since I was just telling you guys on Friday that that's where ESPN plans to be. But yeah, we'll be there and welcoming in Florida State fans and all that would have us and be around and enjoy the conversation for shows that we'll be doing over in Ireland. We'll be there for like a good week leading up to that game, and I intend to make the most of it. This will be the 3rd time I've been to Ireland, so I don't need to go gallivanting about as much as you or others who have not been there need to do. So my evenings will just be spent in the pub. I've been all over Ireland. I've seen all that Ireland has, and I love it. It's awesome. But I'm there to do work on some Guinness this time around and get ready for some football.
That's the thing, though, is that the evenings will be spent doing the show in the pub. It starts at 6 o'clock local time, whereas 6 to 8 p.m. show on Ireland time, and that will be how we hold it down, because there will be post-show Guinness. We'd even do like the overtime Guinness segment.
We can. I'll be happy to do it. I'll do an extra hour throughout if you want. I'll dedicate it. I mean,
15 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you're the one offering this up.
Well, I'm going to be golfing in the mornings. I'm going golfing early in the mornings. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So the good times will be had, my friend, and I'm looking forward to it. I know one of the days I plan on golfing with you as well. But yeah, man, we're going to have a blast. It gets exciting where we have these emails that come into us, and we, like you said, we're having the interaction with the delegates, and we're able to talk about what our plans are, what we'd like to do, what we envision, what we're hoping for. I know that we'll both be at Leopardstown at some point, I think, to watch the horse racing and to gamble. So this is going to be a great trip.
Yeah, that would be the Thursday show. The Thursday show will be from Leopardstown. So we're doing the pub shows every day but Thursday. Then we have the tailgate show on Saturday. The good news is we're getting close enough, but as we get closer, there's an app and it rolls out. It gives you the schedule, the itinerary, where we're all going to be. We're working on some final logistics, but man, we're going to be doing shows from 3 different locales in Ireland over the course of the week. And that doesn't include, I might do one from a hotel for a day or two before you get out to Ireland, because I'm going early.
You know, this sounds so spoiled, and it was, and I don't mean it to be. I mean, this was what the arrangement was. I didn't ask for this. But we had drivers when I went out there this last time with Aslan and Ira that were at our beck and call. We could just ask for our driver to come pick us up and take us anywhere we wanted to go. And I don't know if we've secured drivers, but I have become accustomed to a way of life in Ireland, Tom, that has me never having to drive or really walk anywhere. I just call the driver. Now, if we're going to be asked to do broadcasts from 3 different locations in and around Dublin, I would think we'd need drivers. I don't know. We should probably bring that up to our guys the next time we have our Zoom meetings or something. Do we have And I also loved my driver. I got to know him. He was a sweetheart of a man. Been driving in Ireland for years. He had driven Guns N' Roses around when they were there, and he was hilarious. He had funny stories. And so I don't know. I want to make a request for the same driver, because he was rock solid and always knew the kind of mood we were in and where to take us and the like.
Well, you have the connections to make that request. I do not. This will be my first foray out there. But the one thing I will say is we won't need security. We could hang out the windows of the automobiles and say, "What's up, everybody?" Stick your hand out. You get high fives as we're rolling down the streets of Temple Bar, whatever district you want. We'll do it.
That area is across the street from the hotel that Bono owns, and there's a chance you just see him walking down the street. We have a Guinness with Bono. That'd be fun. It'll be fun. The whole thing. I cannot believe we're under 70 days. Let's get back to the football part of this. When you get down to basically 2 months until we start playing football, you know how I am. I start getting kind of, here we go. We got to do a W's and L's soon, I think, Tom. I think we're probably due. I feel like we've done them in June, and then we revisit them in August. Is that what we do? I can never really remember. Sometimes we do June, July, and August.
Yeah, I think this one might call for a few. We could do a W's and L's from the pub one day before the season starts. That sounds like magical.
Whew, W's and L's from the pub with the locals. Here.
Very confused. They're very confused as to what we're talking about, the locals, but that's okay. They'll get into it.
It's interesting when you go to Ireland, there's a huge push for both the National Football League and college football. Now, college football is their latest endeavor. They're pushing to make this a thing, obviously. Think about the tourism dollars that they see, and Aer Lingus trying their best to get this to be a locked-in tradition for the biggest names in college football. And I can tell you guys this for context. Yeah, Notre Dame's played there, and Notre Dame affiliated with the Irish, of course. That got them very excited. But in truth, when we were over there talking to their officials and talking to the people that organize these events, they were over the moon at the idea that you could have a Florida State agree to come play there. They knew why Notre Dame did it. But really, if you look at the teams not named Notre Dame with that direct affiliation, they haven't been able to get like a Georgia or a Texas or an Alabama or a Michigan. They haven't been able to. They wanted to get a blue blood like Florida State to say yes. And the fact that we did was an indicator to them in their eyes that this thing is growing in the way that they had hoped. They've sunk a lot of money into it. They really make it first class. I think you'll see the city welcomes people. I'm not paid by these folks, so this isn't me trying to sell something that benefits me. I'm going either way. So just so you know where it's coming from, everybody, I'm not told to facilitate this. Yeah, they like it when I talk about it, but I'm giving you my real feelings. And I love that the city's embraced football. The questions you get are outstanding. Like when you go to the pubs, and I made sure to check out as many pubs as I could to provide context for the locals. And when you went to those pubs, you would have these conversations, and you'd be surprised the level of sophistication involved in some of those questions. Like for the ones where the game has clicked, they have NFL bars where they all gather to watch the NFL games, and they have questions about that. But then they'll start asking questions about the difference between the NFL and college football, and how is it perceived in this country, and why is it that the group that loves college football isn't always a huge fan of NFL football, and vice versa. They want to know the history. They want to know the differences in play. I talk about some of the most obvious differences between college football and pro football is the number of plays that are run per game. Obviously, the NFL, you can have very few plays run per game compared to a high-flying college football game. For a long time, you'd see 57 plays running an NFL game, and you got to the point where tempo offenses were running 90 plays in college football. So little subtle things like that, or maybe not subtle to us, but subtle to them. It's a fun conversation, and the people respond accordingly, and they love it. It just makes you realize some of the reasons that you love the game and some of the reasons you got into the game, if that makes sense.
Well, the weather's going to be nice too. We love football in good weather. That's the other part. When they release the kickoff time for Memphis at noon, you go, ooh, okay, all right. There's a bit of a wince. That could have been an 8:30 kick. That would have been all right. That could have been a 9 a.m. kick. Would have been all right. A little nooner. Second half's going to roast. But then when we think about those November games that we have at home, every other year for Florida, usually you welcome in a tune-up game for the game against Florida. But usually also you have a nice ACC opponent in the beginning of the month. And you hope every year this time, boy, I wonder if we can just catch one of those weekends. Because from about the 20th of October through the end of the season, there are 2 exceptional weather weekends in Tallahassee, and you just hope they align with the home game, because football played in good weather is the best kind of football. And even if it's raining, quote unquote, in Ireland, that means it's misting, and you're just enjoying a beautifully cool day in August.
It will be gorgeous. I was there in July, and it was gorgeous. It couldn't have been any better. We had several days with no rain. I know everybody tends to think that it rains all the time there. You get some mistings here and there. We had a little bit of that on one of the days, and the day that Aslan and I played Port Marnock, it was perfect British Open weather. It was like a mist, just a cool little mist with a slight breeze off the Irish Sea. It was incredible in that sense. We couldn't have asked for anything better. But yeah, if you're going or you're thinking about going and you decide to pull the trigger, first of all, the way that stadium is set up, Aviva, it's got this overhang where a good bit of you that are in the stands would not get wet if it was raining. You think back to the old Dallas Cowboys stadium with the hole. Now, this is a little different than that, but you recall that you could see rain coming through that hole, and none of the people in the stands were scurrying. So it was just everybody was fine. And then and so there's an element of that. But it's a 3/4 zip, man. Or a quarter zip. It's a pullover. It's a perfect day to watch football, which would be the antithesis of what it'd be here if we were playing the game in Atlanta or Tallahassee, or either way. If you were playing at either of these two schools, you'd be miserable playing this football game. It's going to be perfect in Ireland. Here's hoping we get off to a great start and play well. I do have this tabbed as one of the games that we could lose. I don't think we will. I'm picking Florida State, but I do think it's potentially a pretty good football game. I'm curious. I want practice. I feel a little disjointed right now without the connection, because you know how you get a vibe about a program, about a team, about individually and then collectively. And I feel like we've been disconnected long enough now, Tom, that I can't get a sense of where our head's at. And, it's the off season. It's supposed to be that way. But I like when we get out there to that first week of practice and you're like, oh, they're locked in, or, ooh, this is a little different. We're not, you can't get a good vibe right now.
Now, the vibe I got from the 2 spring practices that I saw and watching the showcase itself was that the offensive line has a chance to be true enforcers. And I know I've hoped for that in years past. And we've had some guys that are mean. Darius Washington plays as mean as he ever has in the 22 years he's been on campus. And I'm really excited to see what that looks like. These 2 SEC transfers that you have in the interior are mean, large human beings at guard. There's going to be a fierce battle at right tackle. So I think the offensive line has a chance to be the bully that I think the play calling will want them to be, which is great. It's a little disjointed on offense. They're still figuring each other out. I want to see what that looks like after a bunch of work in the summer when you're getting on the same page, you're meeting together, you're going through little machinations. You've got a springy receiver in Malik Benson. You've got work that needs to be done elsewhere. Tons of options for every situation that you want at running back. On defense, that secondary has a chance to be also an enforcers group. Nasty, especially at corner. Safety has questions, but Azarie and the new Fentrell that we saw in spring, if that's the guy that we get in the fall, with Earl in the slot, Earl Little, man, that could be a mean group hawking the ball more consistently than we've seen.
I believe that to be true, and I think the interesting part of the Fentrell comment that you just made is for those that don't know, he looked like a completely different player in the spring that we saw. I mean, he started for us all of last year, so you've seen him play plenty of college football. Hell, you probably watched him star at Virginia as well, so you know what kind of player he is. But I'll admit, I thought he was okay, and then in the spring, he looked good. He went from okay to good. He went from, okay, that'll work, to, ooh, that might be a difference maker. So to me, that's a big, big change if that's what's going to happen, because we both believe Azarie Thomas is going to have a huge year. There's no reason to think that he won't. So I'm excited about that aspect. Earl Little Jr., that's my guy. I was high on him the second we talked about it the first time around. So hopefully we do have an enforcing secondary, as you just described. Hour number 2, Ira Schoffel will join us in that hour. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention Florida, are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Lika Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Lika Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Lika Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLikaLawFirm.com. Hyson Lika Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Dadgummit. Looks like we're not taking the RV anywhere this weekend. The repair shop won't even answer the phone.
If this sounds like your RV mechanic, you need a better mechanic. Call Florida Georgia Mobile RV Service to get all the repairs and maintenance you need to keep your RV in shape year-round. Awnings, converters, electrical work, generators, hydraulics, roof leaks, plumbing, leveling, slide-outs, winterizing. We literally do it all, no matter what make or model RV you have. And we can do most repairs same day or within a few days. We can service your RV at home, storage lot, or even at your campground, and accept warranties and service plans. Plus, mention this ad and we'll give you a free roof inspection or AC performance inspection. Call us at 850-210-4244. That's 850-210-4244. Or just fill out the request form online at FloridaGeorgiaMobileRV.com. That's FloridaGeorgiaMobileRV.com.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Florida Gators look to remain alive at the College World Series today after a 3-2 loss at Texas A&M. The Gators are a $1.25 favorite against NC State today. Wolfpack, they're coming off a walk-off loss of the Kentucky Wildcats. They're minus 105 on the money line. Florida State eliminated Virginia 7-3 yesterday. They will meet North Carolina in elimination game tomorrow, pitting a pair of ACC foes. No early line on the Tar Heels Seminoles matchup. Atlanta Braves today, a $2.18 home favorite against the Detroit Tigers. The total is 8, shaded to the under. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. Progressive.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate, or going to the grocery store for milk instead of buying your own cow. You know there's an easier and better way. Save up to 25% when you bundle home and auto with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's a good plan. You get real unlimited data all for just $20 a month for the whole first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 and a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month service credit applied for up to 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk radio show. Tune in every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. where I provide clear answers to all your questions about Medicare.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Broadcasting Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, if you're driving about town, listening on 93.3, thanks a lot for doing that. Appreciate you. Be safe. Get to where you're going. Deliver those packages. Pick up that thing, whatever it might be. Keep us on. If you're listening on and or watching Warchant TV on YouTube, thanks for doing that as well. Make sure you get your subscription to YouTube, Warchant TV, warchant.com, all those good things immediately if you don't already have one. And if you're listening and watching in the Heisen Legal Law Firm chat and chatting away, hey, man, good to have you on board. Appreciate you doing all of those things. Ira Schoffel, I think, set to join us from Omaha. We'll be able to track him down. I think, Tom, you were just checking. Yep, we're good to go there.
We are good to go. He will be via phone today as he's exploring a little bit of Omaha on an off day. Florida State made Link Jarrett and a lot of players available yesterday, so it looks like from the media perspective, FSU is going to hunker down, do their own thing, and then be prepared to play some baseball tomorrow, and hopefully they'll be playing subsequent days after that.
Yeah, I thought Link handled the situation afterwards as well as you could. I think it has to be bitterly disappointed with the opportunity that was lost in that game. Obviously, you don't lose a game like that without regret and without second-guessing certain aspects, but at the same time, he had to be thrilled by the response. You know, he believed that this team was mentally tough, said that going into the postseason. He thought they were mentally prepared going into the postseason to have a good run in them, to play well and give themselves opportunities. I don't think that he would second guess that now because, as I said before, going back to first regional and then the Supers and then your 2 games out in Omaha, Florida State's been good, man. They've played a bunch of good teams and they're 5-1 in those games. And ultimately, you can't make a series of errors and mistakes that cost you dearly, give extra at-bats. Yes, he would have liked to have had the strike called, but I think there are a lot of things that probably frustrate him about that first game. But he has to be very pleased that yet again they were buttoned up and as good as they could be in that game against Virginia yesterday. So it's nice to see them still kicking around. And by the way, if you're watching college baseball still, Florida and NC State have just started. You got a game again tonight. Do you find yourself watching the other games, Tom? Last year at this time, you didn't watch a single College World Series game. I understand why. But do you find yourself watching the other games now?
A little bit more, although Friday was difficult. So I found myself watching a little bit more of the U.S. Open on Saturday than college baseball. But I found my way towards the end because the drama was just so outstanding. We first guessed it. That this is going to be a highly rated College World Series. And
it's been good, man.
If you tuned into it, you were captivated and did not tune away from it, especially the first 2 days of action. Yesterday was a little bit more ho-hum, although Virginia had pushed us to the brink. But those first 2 days on television, I'm sure those numbers are outstanding for the College World Series. So long story short, I watched more of the golf by far over the weekend than College World Series. But I found my way on Saturday to seeing those finishes.
Pinehurst gave us what we wanted, and that played like a true U.S. Open, which I was happy about. Not happy about the ending. But you got what you wanted coming down the stretch there where guys got to execute shots. None of them did. But there you were, time and again, as you were watching the course take its toll. Those ratings will be good, too. The reason for college baseball's ratings are because the level of play. Now, our game oddly excluded in this conversation, our first game, but most of the baseball has been awesome. Our game had immense and intense drama in moments where the baseball was good, but it was a largely sloppy game compared to the other games we've seen. In the other games we've seen, it's more resembled. This is not a knock on us or even Tennessee. It's just the situations. But I do feel like it's resembled a little bit more of pro baseball in a way that it really never has. And that would stand to reason because more of the better players coming out of high school are going to play college baseball. And we are seeing that now. And the ones who filtered through the smaller schools that don't initially get those offers to an LSU, to a Florida, to a Florida State, to a Texas or one of the big schools, those players, if they emerge from a smaller school, are now getting plucked by all of those said name schools. And so these rosters are loaded. And once they shrunk the rounds of the Major League Baseball draft, and this became a viable option for kids to go play a very high level of baseball that could be scouted in a way that allowed them to compare and contrast what plays and doesn't play at the next level because the level of competition was so much better, then the sport itself improved. And I will say, I do think that, look, for years and years, we've complained about college umpires. I thought the umpire yesterday in the Florida State-Virginia game was outstanding. When he got hit in the neck, I was so pissed because I thought, oh, great, here we're waiting on this strike. We need this strike. And the guy that's been the most consistent of any umpire I've seen in the entirety of the College World Series has just been hit in the effing neck and may need medical attention. And we're going to have some other slappy have to get back there. And then the very pitch that would have been called strike three is going to be called a ball. And then you start going through the machinations in your mind because you are a Florida State baseball fan. And you've been on the wrong end of the most improbable BS that's ever occurred to any team in the history of the sport. And so you could go ahead and create in your mind, like I did, a scenario where this seemingly innocuous thing, like a foul ball off the equipment of an umpire, is going to cost you a game you've dominated. But that's where I went. I went down that road. And that dark traveler was with me. That one that breeds doubt and nonsense and ridiculousness. It was all there in a moment. And then that tough SOB said, I'm good. I'm good to get back behind the plate. And I went, you, sir, are a badass. And I feel better for having done so.
Well, he could have called the next pitch, the first one after he got jacked up a strike, but
we got breathe. Tom, the man couldn't breathe.
That first pitch after 15 minutes, I'm thinking, it's outside. I do love the umpire who will declare verbally for everyone to hear. That's somebody who is confident in his strike zone and is confident in what he sees. He's not wishy-washy. He's not thinking about it. He's definitive. And whether or not he's right, it makes you feel better because he's definitive in what he believes. And I thought so. He was far better than Friday's umpire, who was, I think, equally bad to both teams. Would love to have the fifth inning back in general. The fifth inning was so heavily skewed towards Tennessee in every 50-50 call. But yesterday's guy was pretty good. And that jaw is unbelievable because there's no padding there for a double deflector to go hit you in the chin. That dude could play hockey.
He's a tough dude. He was in good shape, had a real strike zone that he stuck by, was declarative after every pitch, as you noted. That's what it should look like. That's the best you can hope for in college baseball right there, that guy yesterday. If it was on the corner, it was a strike. It wasn't a ball, it was a strike if it was on the corner. If it was just off the corner, it was a ball, and he would yell, ball away. He would tell you right then and there why it was. No second guessing, even if you didn't like it. That's what you want. But yeah, man, over the years, and, we did the watch along together, and the way that ended, I believe my last words were F, and then I turned off the computer. My wife said, you seem almost like you expected that to happen. And I said, babe, it's Florida State baseball. I mean, I have seen the craziest things ever happen to this team, to where you run the risk of whining. Like I try to hear myself, so I don't do it as often, and I try to avoid being around it. But like I remember one time, Brett Grove stealing second base out in Omaha, being safe by no less than 3 feet, was on his way to popping up at second base because his foot was firmly up against the bag when he was tagged and called out, which turned out to be a pivotal play. I remember in Omaha a wild pitch when we had a runner at third that hit at the old Rosenblatt, a brick, and fired the ball straight back to the catcher's glove hand. The announcer noted that he had never seen it in the history of the event, which got our guy tagged out. I've seen a lot of stuff. Foul balls by a quarter of an inch. All these things that have conspired at times to ratchet up the level of pain and despair that we feel. It felt like it culminated in that moment against Tennessee. Now, the rational side of me realized that, look, man, this is the things that plagued Florida State all year reared their ugly head out there in that game. So I don't know that I was totally stunned. But I did eagerly await to see how they would play yesterday. I was hopeful, but I'm not sure I thought they would have that tough a chin. And really, they were led by a guy in Dorsey, and that's why the mantra is, and the old saying is, you're only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. Look, I'm sure there was a bit of a loser's fog in their mind after that devastating loss, but man, he erased it because he went out and dominated early and let the rest of that lineup know, we're good, man. Hang in there. Get your sea legs about you. I'm throwing strikes. We're going to be all right. This isn't too much for me to handle. He looked spectacular, did Dorsey.
Well, that's the thing is, you look at the final score and you say, how did we get to 7 runs? It's not like we scored 7 in the first. Dorsey had to put up 0 after 0 after 0 when the game was still within touch. And it's not like, we have an early lead, we get up 2-0, and then we end up pouring it on. But in those moments where if for some reason, Virginia scratches across 2 and you're either down 2-1 or it's a tie ball game through 3 or 4 innings, that's when that Fridayness, that Friday fog sets back in on a Sunday. And he just didn't let that happen.
Mm-mm.
And so if we do go the distance, if we have a unbelievable week where you get to reset and that one on the right side of the dash is erased and you get to a best 2 out of 3, thank that kid. Thank that freaking kid, because he was the one that helped settle us down.
Fascinating, too. He's been the more consistent of the two in the biggest games in the postseason. And, that's not a shot. I mean, I really enjoyed our conversation with Jamie, and I think his long-term prognosis is really, really good. But Carson Dorsey's the one who's taken the massive leap forward to be, the most dependable pitcher on the staff in these games. He's been electrifying. And part of that is that he has been able to throw his fastball up with the late life. He's thrown the slider away. He's got that changeup, too, that he occasionally goes to. I've just been impressed. I like, too, the demeanor on the hill. One thing that you can note with him, when he strikes somebody out in a big situation, look at his face. It's that of a man who expected to do exactly what he just did. I love it every time I see it. It is a cool, calm, this was always going to be the case demeanor.
Yeah, I think what we talked about during the live show on Friday, the watch along, about what was going wrong for Jamie. There were 2 things that were principally going wrong. One of them was he couldn't locate his fastball to the right-handers the way he wanted to. He found his slider long before he found his fastball, especially to right-handed hitters. And then also he wouldn't expand and get out of the zone to put away hitters. That was one of the problems. And Dorsey does. That fastball isn't electric the way that Jamie Arnold's is. It's 92, right. 93. But how often did he go right to the collarbone or above the lettering at the chest? Often he did.
Well, yeah, it's his out pitch, yeah.
And that's how he got swings and misses with stuff that's not as explosive, whereas Jamie was always in the zone. Now, that's, again, he's got a cut on his finger that's, I'm sure, affecting things from a pinpoint command standpoint. Also, Tennessee's lineup is better than Virginia's lineup. I mean, I think we can all say that, too. So
that Tennessee lineup is really filthy. I mean, they have a lot of guys with bat-to-ball skills.
Correct. So, like, what Jamie Arnold has done so far in the postseason has a higher degree of difficulty, but Carson Dorsey's had a higher degree of consistency to get us to this point.
Well, and he's just located his stuff early. The first pitch yesterday is a strike down the heart. It's like he's establishing right here, right now. No, I'm not nervous. Here's strike 1. Here's strike 2. We're playing baseball. Let's go. I got all this, and I'm going to throw a slider off of it. There's really not a lot you're going to be able to do with that, especially if that starts landing for a strike. And then he just kind of pitched accordingly as if to say, oh, yeah, I'm good. he had a couple of moments where he had to second guess it because he got a little wild. Micah came out and spoke to him, but he was fine after that. He got the necessary out, or he got lucky at one point. He had an Adam Ball that helped him out too. But I mean, that's pitching, right? That's getting back on the horse. So very impressive. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. We'll bring in Ira Schoffel in a moment.
Feeling hungry but don't want to leave the house? Download the Foodies Takeout and Delivery app and earn points and rewards on every order while supporting local at the same time. Other food deliveries like DoorDash and Uber Eats are taking upwards of 20 to 30% directly out of our local restaurants' pockets, while Foodies does not. Keep money local and support your favorite local restaurants such as El Jalisco, Gordo's, Jerry's, Smitty's Tap House, and many more. Download the free app today and start earning your rewards instantly. Just search for Foodies Takeout and Delivery in any app store or order online at foodiestakeout.com.
Social Kitchen is now open on Cary Forest Parkway near Ology Northside, Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides ready to serve in just under 20 minutes. Perfect for those very busy springtime weeks, weekends, you name it. Hosting some people at the house. Hey, Social Kitchen also has build-your-own charcuterie boards and catering. Stop in and visit Social Kitchen today or visit us online at socialkitchentlh.com. socialkitchentlh.com.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping.
Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps.
Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors.
And we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless.
Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
Oh my God, what happened to you? You're walking so crooked.
Well, I was walking my alligator and I tripped on a cypress knee and I spilled my margarita.
Oh my gosh, your margarita.
Yeah, I'm blowing my back completely out. I had to ride the alligator home. I don't know what to do. My back's killing me.
You're such a Florida man. You should know you should go to Finn Chiropractic.
Really?
You can go to their website and book an appointment and get you in as soon as possible. Go to finnchiro.com, FENNCHIRO.com.
You mean 24 hours a day I can make my appointment online and pay for it?
Yep, right on their website.
Wow, and it's discounted?
Yeah.
All right, that's what Florida man needs to do.
No lines, no waiting. Visit fenchiro.com to book your next appointment with a discount. FENNCHIRO.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com. It's Fen Chiropractic, where the chiropractors love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Hold my beer. I'm going to Finn Chiropractic.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Joining us now all the way from Omaha is our own Ira Schoffel, Warchant.com. Joining us now. Ira, how are you, brother?
I'm great, Jeff. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you got to see a win. You got to see a hell of a bounce-back performance from a team that had to have been devastated by a most unfortunate turn of events in Game 1. Give me your summary so far of Omaha, Nebraska, and what you've seen out there at the College World Series. Obviously, we know the play. They're 1-1. We'll talk more about the games themselves, but has the event done what it usually does, which is live up to the hype?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. The crowds have been awesome. The games have been awesome with 4 straight one-run games, 3 walk-offs. One of those was not a lot of fun for FSU fans, obviously, or the players. But like you said, I mean, yesterday was a real good cleanser, I think, because, that team, being around them some on Saturday, being around the coaching staff, I mean, devastated doesn't seem like it does enough justice. I mean, they had their hearts ripped out. And, not just because of the loss, but because how it changes the whole tournament. And so, give them a lot of credit, obviously. Everybody will and everybody should, because, they came back out yesterday morning and just played what Blake Jarrett said might have been the best game of the season. And when he said that, it kind of shook me a little bit, because I hadn't really thought about it. But then you look back at it, yeah, man. I mean, Dorsey shoved, Oxford pitched well in relief, defense was very good. There's one play maybe they could have made that they didn't. But other than that, just a great baseball game against a good team. Virginia's a really good baseball team, and Florida State kind of dominated them. And so, it's just cool to see them at least have that moment to kind of maybe cleanse some of what happened on Friday.
I was really excited for them to have that moment, because we think that they're a team that deserves that moment. They've been tough. They've bounced back from all kinds of adversity, and to see it, have it play out the way that it did in Game 1, I was frustrated and worried that they wouldn't get a chance to show their best version, because it would be understandable to not be able to break out from the fog of defeat and the sadness that is really, I think, part of a loss like that, right? It's not just a loss. It was the way that it happened that had to, a lot of times carry over. But Carson Dorsey, you just mentioned it. He's been their best pitcher in the postseason. He has been spectacular, and he looked calm from the jump yesterday, Ira.
He really has. It's a fun story. I'm actually finishing a story up that I'll have on the site today at Warchant.com about Carson, and also about Brendan Oxford, because he obviously came back from something pretty awful the other night as well. But yeah, I mean, Carson Dorsey less than 3 months ago, gave up grand slams on back-to-back days.
Yeah,
Clemson, and then in the ACC tournament, really struggled in relief. And I think at some point they realized, partly out of necessity, and sorry, the wind's kicking up here in Omaha, but they realized, he's much more comfortable in a starting role than he is as a reliever. And since they've done that, he's had a bunch of really good starts, and then especially in the postseason, where he's been outstanding. In these 3 starts in the NCAA tournament now, he's pitched 21 innings and given up 5 earned runs, and he's just been outstanding. And again, like you said, not just that he pitched well yesterday, but to me, one of the most impressive things was he got some traffic. Part of it was self-induced. He walked a guy, hit a guy. Got in a couple situations where Virginia had a couple runners on and got out of every inning, picked off a batter, just really controlled the game in a way that was very impressive on that stage. So, yeah, really happy for him, man. He has been, I agree, he's been their best pitcher the last few weeks.
What are they set to do now? I mean, I guess I don't know if we know. Has it been announced? How are they going to proceed? I mean, it seems highly unlikely, in my opinion, that they'll be able to navigate this to a place where all of a sudden we're watching them on Thursday, but it's not impossible because the offense is so good. How do you think they're going to move forward here on the Hill?
Yeah, we don't know. And Link, when we talked to him yesterday, he basically just said, "Don't even ask me because I have no idea," which gives you a pretty good indication of where they're at. They don't have a great plan. I think my guess is you go with some of these guys, maybe some of these younger pitchers who have really good stuff, but just have been inconsistent, and you kind of roll the dice. I just think you do that instead of pitching an older guy who what they are. I would like to see Abraham, maybe Holtz too, but I just think some of those guys that have good stuff when it's on, and then take your chances with that. I think that's what they'll do against North Carolina, and then, like you said, man, if you could get past North Carolina, I think that game is huge, because if you can get past them. And I understand that the Tennessee game coming back will be a huge challenge to beat them. They would have tons of rest, all their arms would be available. But Tennessee's strength is not their pitching staff. North Carolina's strength is their pitching staff. So if you can get past North Carolina, you can play any team that doesn't have a great pitching staff. I like your chances. And if they could somehow beat Tennessee in that first game, you can see a path where now all the pressure's on Tennessee. So I'm, compared to where I was 24 hours ago, I'm much more, I at least believe, I see there's a path there to get it done, but obviously the cards are all stacked up against them.
I agree. It could be fun, right? It's one of those. Tom and I talked about it in hour number one. It feels a little bit like the famed Red Sox comeback against the Yankees when they were down 3-0. And, next thing you know, it's 3-1. Don't let us get to Wednesday. Don't let us get to Friday and all that stuff. But I believe if you're still around and you're able to go back to some of your horses, even if it's on short rest, and that game, if you're in it against Tennessee, if you're playing Tennessee doesn't want to face us. And I don't think they do. You saw what this offense can do to Tennessee pitching. And by the way, Tennessee rolled out all of their arms in that game, and a lot of those guys got hit. Florida State would score. I'll just put it that way. Florida State would score against Tennessee, I do believe. But you got to get there, and this is a tough ask.
Yeah, to me, that's the challenge. I of the teams, like everybody was debating yesterday, who would you rather see? Who do you want to see win that North Carolina-Tennessee game? And honestly, I got the idea of a lot of people would rather play Tennessee once as playing them twice. North Carolina's going to be a challenge because they do have a lot of good arms. So I don't think the game's going to get away from them. You're not going to bludgeon them in an elimination game like you do some teams. So I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game. If FSU's pitchers deliver, and again, you don't have to have somebody pitch 7-8 innings. It's going to be a Johnny Holstaff thing, I'm sure, unless somebody just, comes out of nowhere with a great effort. But, I don't think North Carolina's going to score a bunch of runs either. So I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. And if you pull it out, now you get into, I think, a game where you're just completely loose if you play Tennessee again. There's no pressure on you at all. And then if you keep that game close, now all of a sudden the pressure starts to mount on Tennessee.
Yeah, you just tab one of the young pitchers like you said, Ira, and just tell him one piece of advice. Don't pitch to Honeycutt. That dude, he's pretty effing good. Go enjoy Omaha. Thanks for checking in, brother.
Thanks, FC, man.
Yep, take care. That's Ira Schoffel enjoying himself out in Omaha. Kind enough to give us some time as well as he's walking about on a windy day. I believe NC State currently leads Florida 1-0 as we update you the score there. That's nice to see. Let's hope that balloons to 27-0 in like the next 2 innings. Wouldn't that be great? It'd be special. Great trip to Omaha for Ira to witness that if it happens. We'll see.
Do you think that this is one thing we didn't talk about with the Clemson-Florida Classic from a couple of weeks ago? If you're a manager and you challenge foreign substances on another pitcher, whether it's on his sleeve or in the case of the game itself, brim of the cap, and the umpire finds nothing, should you be ejected as the manager?
If they find nothing?
If they find nothing, because in the situation that O'Sullivan called for, the review of the cap, all he's doing is stalling. We know exactly what he's doing. Yeah. It's the same thing as 11 used to do with an initial visit, then he would walk back, and then he'd come back. I mean, it's a cat and mouse game. But if you're going to try and fluster an opponent directly, this is different than trying to get a bullpen arm warm. That's your own guy that you're trying to get warm. This is an opponent that you're calling into question. You're saying, check his hat. Man, there should be a repercussion. If you're wrong and they're saying it's just dirt, you got to go, man. You got to get kicked out in that situation.
Well, until they do that, managers are going to do exactly what he did if they think it gives them an advantage. That's what they're going to do. And so, yeah, it is annoying. They do have these rules in place. I see Briley's referencing delay of game. The rules in place now are meant to speed up baseball. I could see it being something like that where they say, look, man, you don't deliver a pitch within a certain time, ball one. We already know the rules, right? So same thing. Strike one, or your batter's out, or whatever you want to make it, however penal you want to make it. I could see him doing something like that in the future. But you're right. It's gamesmanship. It's annoying. It's how about that? How about the start of that game, Texas A&M in Florida the other night? It's uncomfortable.
Well,
that's uncomfortable. Yeah. I'm still laughing about it.
What I would say is with O'Sullivan specifically, there's a lot of uncomfortable things.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think, by the way, to put a ribbon on our conversation with Ira? It seems counterintuitive to say this, but I don't believe it to be. Florida State, even though they are facing elimination, I don't think there's any pressure. When you get it right now, the odds are stacked against you. This is why losing that game to Tennessee was so devastating. You had it won. You were up 9-4 in the middle innings. 9-4. That's the lead that pisses me off. I know the ninth inning one, it drives me nuts. But, man, you're on the cusp of blowing them out, and then obviously we know the series of events. But going back to, they don't reseed, Bob. Thanks for the question, buddy. Appreciate you. And they're two different sides of the bracket. They just don't do it. That's the way it works out in Omaha. It's a strange thing. But I think if you go with the approach that you're going to pitch one of those young guys, and Tom, have talked about this. We love a couple in particular of the young guys. We love their stuff. Now, because they're young and they're green, it comes and goes. It's there for a pitch, enough to put a twinkle in your eye when you witness it. You go, ooh. Well, that's a two-seamer that runs in on righties and away from lefties. That is going to get it done right there. And then you'll see, a 12-6 curveball, or you'll see a changeup from a right-handed pitcher to a left-handed hitter that is a wonderful out pitch. Or you see these things and you go, okay, they've got stuff that excites you for the future. Problem is, they're not used to pitching. They're not used to being asked to pitch through tough situations. They're going against hitters that are much better than anybody they faced just a year ago when they were in high school. So all of these things add up to inconsistencies when we watch them during the regular season. But those inconsistencies aren't born from somebody not having the pitches or the stuff, as they say, to get people out. It's just the lack of experience, and they're getting set up, and they're a little inconsistent. I would put my arm around one of those kids if that's the route you go and say, man, you got nothing to lose. How cool is it that you're at Florida State and you're pitching in the College World Series? This is so fun. Just let it fly, buddy. And by the way, don't hold anything back. We got the whole staff up and running to come to your aid here. I don't expect you to pitch us a complete game shutout. Go give me one good inning. We'll talk about it afterwards. If that inning was good and you're feeling good, you're feeling froggy, let's go. We'll keep going. If not, we'll go grab somebody else.
That's what they can fall back on. Admittedly, midweek opponents are not the same as weekend opponents. However, you have a whole staff game against Florida where you're unbelievably dominant, and several other examples against teams from the state of Florida in which, maybe your lead guy pitched 2 innings, but you used 5, 6, 7 arms in those circumstances.
Right.
And you got home. Tomorrow's situation is perfect for what you describe. Now, I don't know that in a high leverage Wednesday game against Tennessee in the 8th, and you got nobody left, and in comes Hudson Rowan, that you're like, isn't this fun?
This is awesome, son.
You might not end up with vomit over your uniform because he projectiles onto the FS on your chest. But in tomorrow's circumstance, that's not the same thing. Tomorrow is go get him. Tomorrow is totally go get him energy. Wednesday, Thursday, let's get our guys, the very few that we like, back in there, please. And maybe tomorrow gives us a candidate for Thursday where you're like, all right, Abraham, I see you. We can run you back out there in a better spot.
No, I get it. I'm just talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking later on. I'm just talking about tomorrow. Like, hey, man, you got nothing to lose. And listen, I promise you, if this doesn't go well, we put you in a bad situation. It's not going to change the way I feel about you when I recruited you. It's not going to change the way I feel about your future. It's what it is, man. We're kind of up against it. A lot of things happen. But what a cool opportunity. Throw your stuff, man. Throw your stuff. Don't be scared. It's a big ballpark. Throw what you got. If they tank it, if it happens, it happens. But give it a go, man. I trust you. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A 19-year-old man is behind bars in connection to a Friday morning shooting at the Hidden Pines apartment complex. Tallahassee police confirmed Garrett Ponder was arrested. The shooting happened around 4:30 a.m. in the 2000 block of Trimble Road. One adult male suffered from a gunshot wound in the mouth. The victim was transported to the hospital where his injuries were determined to be serious. The suspect and victim are known to each other. Ponder was arrested the same day and is being held at the Leon County Jail. Ponder was also denied bond Saturday morning. A man has died after being hit by a train in Bainbridge on Saturday morning. At around 9:37 a.m., a pedestrian was walking across the railroad tracks at the intersection of Albany Road and Back Street in Bainbridge. The victim was a Bainbridge resident and was deaf. The victim was walking south on Albany Road when he crossed over the train tracks and was hit head-on by a train. The victim was treated by EMS and life-flighted to a hospital in Tallahassee where he died from his injuries. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Daytime highs approaching 94. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. 73 tonight. Slight chance for showers. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 93. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 87 degrees.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Jeff Cameron Show, rolling on Big River, having a good day. 1-0 NC State. They're in the second inning there. What do you think, Tommy? Was it 2.5 and 3.5 feet? Is that what it was? The 2 putts for Rory?
It was
3 feet 11 inches, one of them 2.5, the other
2.5, 2 feet 6 inches, and just like 3.9 for the 1 on 18, which I will say.
That's a slippery putt. That one.
Whoever was on the bag there or was on the call was like, oh, this is left center, left edge at most. No, man, just watching that putt. That's
a full ball on the left side.
Unless you want to bury it 20 feet past, if you miss, it's not left center. But the 2 foot, I mean, come on.
Well, no, that's the one. That's the one that allowed for the other.
Ooh.
And it's the one that will allow for others in the future. I don't think you ever get over it. It's Scott Hoke. It's I don't know what you do in that situation. Like, you knew, oddly, after that miss, I said to Christy, he's got no chance to make this putt on 18. after the miss, I'm like, he's got no chance.
Yeah, so they said, it's funny. They're talking about it on the broadcast the whole day. They're like, well, he made that one look easy. I'm like, did he? Did he? Because all you're talking about all day long is the Payne-Stewart flag location. First of all, Payne-Stewart this, the Payne-Stewart that. And if you land on the front of the green, you have an uphill putt.
Right.
So he went beyond it. I mean, he made that look easy. I'm like, I'm not so sure. He's got a downhiller.
This is where Chambly kicked ass. He interrupted them both to basically tell them they were dumb. He's like, well, that's not where you want to be. That's downhill and slippery. He immediately interjected that. It was like, nope, that's not a good situation.
So I'm finding something out about NBC's broadcast, and I'm sure everybody is wanting to know this particular opinion. But Dan Hicks is probably the problem, the play-by-play guy. No broadcast team steps over each other on the commentary more than NBC. And Johnny Miller's gone, and Gary Koch is history, and Paul Azinger is gone, and all these Peter Jacobson, like they've run through a ton of dudes, and yet they still all don't know when it's each other's turn to speak, which CBS does so cleanly at all times, and NBC does not. So Dan Hicks, I guess, is the problem, or the director in the truck if it's been the same guy. At any rate, the reason I bring that up is it was contentious. Brandel Chambly could not be criticizing Bryson DeChambeau more down the stretch, and Dan Hicks could not have been a better impersonator of Gary Danielson and Tim Tebow more for Bryson down the stretch.
Well, I think what happens is they are in a bad situation in that, and the whole thing, it's like you can watch the disingenuous absurdity that is Bryson DeChambeau's effort to reclaimate his image. It's uncomfortable and maniacal and sociopathic, and so you get those that are easily fooled in buying in, and then those that are appalled by their naivete. And so when you hear it, it's uncomfortable because they're jousting for what to say, how to say it, how to present it without crossing a line on either side. So they're stuck. They don't know what to do. Meanwhile, the guy's going to win the tournament, and you got to give him his due for winning the tournament. So how do you do it without fawning and buying into the charade? Or how do you do it also pointing out that this is absurd? Like I said to you last night, it'd be one thing. Both those guys puked all over themselves down the stretch. And so that's what made it weird. The course actually won. The moment won, because if he had just taken it by going and playing great, like he had in the previous major, you would have been going, dude's just ready to play these things. But he shot over par in the final 5 holes. He didn't go take it.
Right, and he won after shooting over par. Rory was up 2, and Rory's up 2 with like 5-6 holes to go. That's like straight out of the Arnold Palmer 19, with the Masters, I forget what year it was, 66, 67. He's got like a handful shot lead going into the final round and blows it.
You're like, what in the world?
And it's not sometimes, use basketball as an example. Sometimes the rally, the run to get up by a basket takes everything out of you and you don't have anything left. And so you cave after you climb the mountain because you're exhausted. It's not like Rory was playing poorly and putting himself in a position where he's got 50 footers for par.
Right.
He's right there. And he got out of it. He had the bad mistake on 18. This is the hard part. Is earlier on in the round, they talked about how Rory hit a quick shot ahead of Bryson so that the crowd would erupt before Bryson could tee off or do whatever he was going to do. He wanted to use the elements to influence Bryson. Well, Bryson on 17, his tee shot influenced Rory. I'm telling you, if Rory McIlroy tees off on 18 before Bryson hits his shot to the par 3 17th, Rory's in the fairway. He got intimidated by how closely Bryson hit it. And you could tell that Rory was nervous 2 hours before we ever got to a key moment because he would check his line, pick his head up, put it down like Brian Harmon doing a waggle out of nowhere. The moment was too big. It just was.
It's weird.
It's so sad. It's so stinking sad because many moments have been high stakes just like that, and he has not flustered, but he was totally flustered yesterday.
Well, I think it's odd. It's once he got up by 2 strokes with 5 to play. It's like he has the thing won and he knows it. It's almost like that. One of the cool things, and this is in any sport, and over the years, get a chance to talk to people in this situation. I think it's fascinating. I bring it up a lot. Dr. Brett McCabe has been on the show that I used to host with Trey Jones on SiriusXM PGA Tour channel. Was a former college baseball player, pitcher in the College World Series at LSU, had success, worked with Alabama and Nick Saban, worked with all of these folks. and he would talk about, and the reason I bring him up, he's a sports psychologist. And he would talk about, circumstances in any sport. The number one thing that you have to try to avoid, it's not the awareness that you're on the cusp of achieving a goal. It's not the awareness that you have an opportunity to achieve something that you desperately want to achieve. It's the thinking about what it means. It's the picturing of it before you hit the next shot or play the next play or whatever it is. It's not like they're not devoid of an understanding when they take the turn at 9 and look up, I'm up 3 with 9 to play. Like, I know what that means, that if I play good golf, I'm a winner. But, like, it's not being aware of that. It's starting to picture it as having been a fait accompli, like it's going to happen. And I feel like the instant he, just looking at his face, and I don't know this, I'm not in his brain, nobody really knows it, but it's an observation. He goes up 2, and they were running out of holes on a hard course with Sunday pins. You can see a scenario by which he says in his head, if I par out, I'm the U.S. Open champion. Finally, 10 years removed, I will have done this thing. And you know how much he's wanted it if you've watched Full Swing. So I feel like he did it. And then the first thing that called that into question, that shattered the image, it was just like you could picture the puke coming out all over his chest. Just like unbelievable this is happening.
But you're right. His competitor was puking as well. And I'm of the belief that if he makes the putt on 18, Bryson does not save par.
I am of the belief too. But it doesn't matter because he missed it. And so what's ended up happening there, if that had been that you had to do that in order to force a playoff as opposed to win, it's a very different mindset.
Yeah, no, it's, we talked about this years and years ago with Dustin Hopkins, North Carolina kick, and then the Clemson kick.
Right.
Two very different scenarios.
You're tied. You're not going to lose the game if you miss the kick.
Right, and that's why he was able to hit the 55-yarder is 70 yards, and that's why the 38-yarder against North Carolina went wide to the right.
Because you needed to make that or you lose.
But in that instance, that helped fortify his strength and he's still kicking in the league. So
it's amazing.
It ends up working out for him. But those are two very different circumstances. Yeah, I think if Bryson has to make par to force a playoff there, I don't think he does, just because he was in the jail of jails. And
well, yeah,
he knows is if I bogey, we're going to a playoff. There is no pressure at that point. It's like, let's see what I can do when I'm 50 yards out instead of, oh my God, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to blow this.
It's a very different approach. Yeah, no, the psychology of all of that, watching all these guys down the stretch was amazing. The U.S. Open brings that out more than most because the conditions are so tough. So your margin for error is so great. It's so little, and the repercussions so great. Yeah, I look, it was riveting. There's no doubt about that.
Well,
the rating's going to be good. It was riveting.
The guy who hit the most winning shots was Cantlay. You're talking about the second shots, the approaches from the fairway, or the tee shots on the par threes. Cantlay hit the most, just amazing shots yesterday of all of them. They all took turns, but Patrick hit the most, but he couldn't make a putt. So he's standing saying, I was out of this thing 5 holes ago, but I'm now back in this with 2 holes to play. These guys are ridiculous.
Well, Cantlay has the same problem that Finau has, is that they're really good golfers who hit a bunch of really good shots and don't make putts when they need to make putts in majors. It's like, okay, there's no questioning your ball striking ability and your ability to hit big shots with a lot on the line to hit a green in tough situations, but you got to pay it off. And it did live up to what I wanted to see, and I had a good time with it. So it was a lot of fun, but I think the sad part is I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't feel like Rory's ever going to recover from that.
Probably not.
Unless he runs away with one. Like if he runs away with it, like you could see one of the best ways to get over something like that is what if you just are on fire like he was in the one U.S. Open or the British Open. It was the British, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well,
it was U.S. Open. Yeah, he ran away with it.
Right after a crushing defeat. That's where I would pause. That's where I don't think he will, but you had the same look in his eye. He had the same look in his eye in the scorer's room yesterday that he did on the 10th tee at Augusta on Sunday.
But the difference was at the Masters, he just started hitting it all over the lot. He was hitting it in places nobody had ever seen before. Like, that was literally a guy losing his swing on the course. This is a little different. He hit the ball really well for the most part. He really did. For 4 rounds, he did everything he needed to do. And he missed a 2.5-foot putt.
And think about it. Last year, he was 1 stroke short of Wyndham Clark. And, what he's saying to himself on the flight, because you're going to deflect in that moment as a defense mechanism, is, Wyndham choked more than I did. It's just that LA Country Club had a 150-yard wide fairway on the 72nd. I missed by 5 feet to the left. I'm in the native area.
It'll hurt your feelings. We got probables. I'm not even going to play the music. I should probably hit the thing, though, shouldn't I? By the way, did Caglione go yard again? I think he did, Tom. I think my man went yard again. I don't mean again as in this same game, but he did it in this game, right? That's how Florida got up 4-1. I believe that's correct.
Wow, look at that. They're up 4-1. No, I didn't see. I've been paying attention to the show. I haven't checked the box scores.
I'm proud of you, but it was Caglione went yard because you can't pitch to him. Stop doing that, dummies. All right, here we go. Quickly. Reds, Pirates, Carson Spears, Paul Skeens. It's Paul Skeens Day, everybody. Woohoo! Paul Skeens Day on a Monday. Padres, Phillies, Randy Vasquez, Christopher Sanchez, Cards, Marlins, Sonny Gray, Braxton Garrett, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Nick Pivetta, Yusei Kikuchi. By the way, the Red Sox stole 9 bases on the Yankees' pathetic catcher last night. Tigers, Braves, Reese Olson, Max Fried, Mets, Rangers, David Peterson, John Gray, Giants, Cubs, Jordan Hicks, Javier Assad, Dodgers, Rockies, James Paxton, Cal Quantrill, and Brewers, Angels, Carlos Rodriguez, Jose Soriano. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Boom. 10 of 11, 9 of 10. Is that right? That's what you told me?
Yes, I believe that's correct. Might have 2 losses in that stretch, but I'll tell you what. We win tonight with David Peterson on the hill in Texas. This is a thing. This becomes a real thing because David Peterson, no good. Bet the over on the Rangers team total tonight.
Well, I like it. We're getting bets out there in the nick of time. All right, I'll bet the over on the team total for the Rangers. It's Paul Skeens Day. I bet every Paul Skeens start, and I usually take the over on whatever the strikeout number is, but lately I think they've started to figure out that he's good. So, like, that strikeout number will be 8.5 or something, and you're like, I don't know if I can do 8.5.
And then the opponent's like, screw it, I'm swinging early in the count. First pitch I see, I'm hacking at it.
Yeah, you can't get down in the count. All right, Tommy, goodbye. I'll talk to you later. Everybody else, have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the baseball. We'll talk to you on a Lawn Maintenance Tuesday. Peace.